Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and this is officially Eagle Zone Live. We have some important stories for you today, which include fewer students planning on going to college, Central student faces injuries that will affect his senior year, a negative situation made positive, and a new sport comes to Aberdeen Central. So, stay tuned for Eagle Zone Live. Numbers are in from the Department of Education, and fewer high school graduates are going to college after their senior year. Eagle Zone's Preston Krieber joins us with the numbers. Preston?
Brian, South Dakota State Report Card says that in 2017, almost 70% of graduates went on to higher education. In 2022, it was down to 62%.
Any number of reasons could be pushing that trend. Central Principal Jason Odermark suspects cost is a part of it.
Post-secondary education is getting very expensive. It is we're going through a period of high inflation, and the costs for college are going up even faster than the rest of society. So,
the percentage of high school graduates in South Dakota who go on to post-secondary school is down 7% in the last 5 years alone. Shana Canupi meets with students and says the conversations she's had don't quite match the report card's findings.
I haven't really noticed any trend of more students saying they're going to go into the workforce or take a gap year or anything like that. I still have students that are still planning to further their education. Now, whether that follow through happens, that's another story. You know, a student might have every intention of furthering their education, but then something from, May to September, August happens and things change and they're unable to fulfill what they were going to.
One possibility that may have gone in the way, businesses are paying employees more because of the high employment. Another possible reason, the pandemic, which has thrown a wrench in a lot of the decisions being made. And if money is a driving force keeping anyone from college, Odermark wants families to keep this in mind.
and there are resources out there that are available to them. The Build Dakota Scholarship and the Opportunity Scholarship. And there are a lot more resources out there than what they all might realize. And so education, even though the price of it is going up, there's just a way to get through that mess and to get to college without it being quite the financial burden that it might initially appear.
Odermark believes that as long as the inflation keeps going up, so will the percentage of high school graduates not going to post-secondary school.
Here in Aberdeen, the school is seeing a similar trend. 5 years ago, 67% of graduates went on to college. In the latest report card, that number is at 59. Brian?
Thanks, Preston. That college count includes both 2-year and 4-year schools. The most popular college for South Dakota graduates is to attend SDSU, but for Aberdeen graduates, it's Northern. Our next story features a student still in his senior year, but it's a year that's been disrupted by an accident over the summer. All in all, he's thankful his life wasn't disrupted even more. Eagle Zone's Summer Ryan joins us with that story. Summer?
Brian, AJ worked at a golf course over the summer. He was working on some routine mowing 1 minute and found himself trapped under a lawnmower the next minute.
I was just hoping that someone was going to find me because I was on the side of a hill, so if you were standing at the top, you couldn't see me unless you looked down.
That was senior AJ Dabney talking about an incident that occurred to him over this past summer.
So I was mowing on the side of a hill back by my shop, and it got really wet, so when I tried going uphill, the back wheel spun, and then I went down the hill backwards, so I jumped off the mower, and when I jumped off the mower, it ran over my foot and broke my foot and cut my Achilles.
As a parent, this call is not one you want to receive. And just like any parent, AJ's father, John Dabney, was not ready for the information about to come his way.
My first thought was not another accident. AJ's had a pretty rough go of his high school year with different injuries.
But his father, John, was not the first person that AJ called.
And at the time that it happened, I was the only one back at the shop, so there was no one there, and then I finally called my boss and he found me.
Paul Vikander was the first one on scene.
And AJ's screaming, I can't feel my legs. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't.
Vikander called 911.
Fire department came and We didn't realize both legs were trapped under there at one time. We tried to lift it off. It was pinching on his other leg once we lifted up the one side.
Responders rescued Dabney, and recovery has been ongoing. The injury affected Dabney's senior year, but the biggest aspect for him, though, was not being able to play sports.
Well, I haven't been able to play football at all yet this year, and I missed out on a lot for hockey this summer with getting chances to do stuff, so it's had a big impact on my senior year.
Dabney will be returning to the football field next week to play his first game of the season in the semifinal round of the Class AA state bracket.
Thanks, Summer. This next story is one I've been working on this school year. When I started, I thought it would be a sad and serious one. Then, I met the person experiencing the story, and I'm excited for you to meet him too. Take a look.
Exactly, yes indeed.
The look on his face might tell you someone's in the middle of telling jokes.
It's going to be a good deal.
But this is the attitude Aberdeen School District Mike DeVos chooses to have when talking about his cancer diagnosis and leg amputation.
You can sit home and feel sorry for yourself, or you can get up and do something. You know, it's life is about choices, I guess.
DeVos has been choosing to laugh.
I have a hard time climbing ladders right now.
Since doctors found skin cancer on the bottom of his foot in early June.
Well, I didn't think it would be quite as drastic as it was going to be. You know, well, they're going to have to scrape some off the bottom of the foot where it first started, and then you're going to lose a few toes, and then half a foot, and pretty soon it was a leg. So yeah, it escalated, I guess.
To that, DeVos laughs and says maybe he should have stopped visiting the doctor sooner. But what he is happy he did sooner than later was return to work. He was back when the school year started.
Well, you got to do something. Can't sit around at home, I guess. I mean, I could, but it's not going to accomplish anything either.
It surprised me how much I laughed interviewing someone about a life struggle. But I could, because that's all he was choosing to do.
Oh, I just do the best I can. You know, it's all you can do. Get up and do what you best you can. And so there's some days where you can't. You know, the second day back, I was sitting at my desk doing some computer stuff, and I was going to get up and do something I'd done 100 times before, and I realized, you know what, I can't do that. So it's kind of, oh, okay. But yeah, it's move on and do what you can.
The next challenge he faces is getting a new prosthetic leg. He has gotten a scan and will be getting his new leg soon. He hopes that it all goes well, and I do too. Now to our sports story of the show. For years, sports have been a quintessential part of the high school experience. Here at Central, a brand new sport has taken the stage. The state hasn't sanctioned it just yet, but esports is coming to Aberdeen Central. In fact, they'll start practicing yet this fall. Eagle Zone Sam Ryan has the story.
Central's own Andre Cobbs will be the school's esports coach starting this year. However, there are still a few roadblocks that need to be cleared at the state level.
We're hoping that it will be next year as a sanctioned high school event. But at least in the next 2 years, we've got word that it should be a sanctioned event.
And then there's the games. There are only 2 approved right now. That has some questioning whether or not to participate.
I'm not 100% sure because there aren't a whole lot of options for games. Because right now I don't really play any of the games that they're offering.
Game-wise, it all depends on what the state sanctions. So right now we've got Rocket League and League of Legends. Just depends on what the state kind of lets us do.
Cobbs is optimistic about the level of involvement.
At our first meeting, we had about 35 to 40 students. So I feel like we've got a nice range of students and a decent set of games. Literally, sky's the limit for involvement.
The esports group's next meeting is Thursday, November 3rd during Super Study in ATEC Room 129. That's all for this episode of Eagle Zone Live. You can always watch our stories whenever you want by scrolling down to the Eagle Zone section of the school district website. That's aberdeen.k12.sd.us. With Eagle Zone Live, I'm Brian Johnson.